Hi everyone, thank you for joining us. So before we head off our meat rabbit unit, which I said I was going to be redoing a lot of those videos with the wind blowing and everything that we did a few years ago, we want to address the elephant in the room. Why meat rabbits? So we can tell even people who eat meat and people who even maybe raise chicken or turkey or pigs that we raise rabbits for meat, and we still get that deer in the headlight look. There is a cute factor when it comes to rabbits, and it's something that a lot of people say, you know, I eat meat, I farm, I could never kill a rabbit. So what I want to address is why meat rabbits? Why is it so important? Now, rabbit on the supermarket shelf or rabbit on your dinner plate in the 1940s, 1950s was as common as chicken. Let's start with the nutritional breakdown of rabbit meat. Rabbit meat has the most digestible protein. Now, I'm not talking about just protein, I'm talking about digestible protein higher than any other meat. It is almost cholesterol free, it is almost fat free, it is the lowest in calories, lowest in sodium, lowest in cholesterol than any other meat, white or red. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it to chicken, pork, and beef. So we're going to look at those common meats and we're going to compare it to rabbit meat. So besides just the nutritional facts, rabbit meat is also the most productive livestock that you can raise. And the bone to meat ratio is actually the lowest of any of the animals that we're going to be comparing to today. You're going to have a lot less bones on a rabbit compared to the meat that you're able to produce.
A chicken requires 7 pounds of food to produce 1 pound of meat. If left to have chicks, a female chicken can produce 75 pounds of meat a year. A pig requires 10 pounds of feed to produce 1 pound of meat and can produce 1,500 pounds of meat per year. A cow requires 24 pounds of food to produce 1 pound of meat and can produce up to 300 pounds of meat per year. Here's where the cool part comes in. A rabbit only requires 4 pounds of feed to produce 1 pound of meat, and a rabbit can produce 320 pounds of meat per year, which is 4 times what a chicken can and even more than a cow can.
So when you look at raising beef compared to raising rabbit, it's going to take 6 times the feed and 6 times the water to produce 1 pound of beef as it is to produce 1 pound of rabbit meat. And rabbit meat sells for significantly more. When you see it in the store and it's frozen junk from China, it's still $7 or $8 a pound. Now, raising it organically on your own farm, you can get upwards of $10 a pound for rabbit meat. So now let's really think about the environmental impact of raising meat. Now, I get attacked all the time from angry vegans online or vegetarians online saying you are ruining the environment. So I think that they're barking up the wrong tree, and I always tell them, if you're angry with meat production, I understand that, because if you look at the overhead of a slaughter yard, it is absolutely horrifying. And then look at the breakouts of E. coli and salmonella, even on things like lettuce, because they don't know what to do with all the waste, and they're now spraying it on the produce that we're eating. So there's literally nothing they can do with the amount of waste that these big slaughter yards are producing, and they're poisoning the soil, they're poisoning the water, and they're really putting a strain on the corn and wheat production in this country, because we have to feed these large animals that require so much food in order to produce food for us. And with that comes jacking the animals up on hormones and, you know, growth hormones and antibiotics, and pumping our food, our corn and our wheat, full of all these GMOs and all of these things to make them grow faster and be more productive, so that we can keep this wasteful food chain going. So when we think about rabbit meat, it actually has a very, very low environmental impact. And I would even argue that raising rabbits and rabbits in a controlled situation can actually benefit your environment. So I know here on our 1 acre, we're able to raise quite a few rabbits, and we tractor our grow outs. And as they tractor, they're just mowing the lawn for us. And not only are they mowing the lawn, but they have a close to bacteria free, or at least it doesn't have salmonella or E. coli or something that's going to make a human being sick. And they are fertilizing our soil, our lawn, our gardens in the wintertime. And then the ones that are hutched are dropping their poop down, and we're able to take this garden gold, put it on our garden in layers and sheets, and produce compost. So we aren't ruining the topsoil or the water. We are actually building it up with our rabbits and improving our environment here. So let's talk about the practicality of raising rabbits. Can you raise rabbits if you just have a small backyard? Absolutely you can. You can do a 3-hutch trio system, 1 buck, 2 does, and you can produce a very large amount of meat, up to 600 pounds of meat from 2 does if you breed them pretty hard, which we don't breed ours that hard just because we want them to last longer. But if you were breeding them every 31 days like some of the producers do, then you're able to raise up to 600 pounds of meat from 2 does in your backyard. So rabbits are highly productive on large farms, and they're highly productive if all you have is a city lot. Something else to really think about with rabbit meat is how easy the meat is to use. So here in America, we eat more chicken than anything else. Rabbit meat, although slightly different in texture, I would say that it's a tad bit softer in texture, has a very, very similar flavor. My kids eat both chicken and rabbit because we raise both, and they always have to ask us, as long as it's not in a hole where they can see the shape of it, what are we having today? Is this rabbit or is this chicken? You can use it in any dish that you would cook chicken in, enchiladas, pulled chicken sandwiches, anything like that. And you can also use it in any recipe that you would use pork in. I've ground it up and I've stuffed vegetables with it, like I would stuff like a porked pepper. You can make rabbit sausage out of it. You can even make rabbit jerky, which we've done. So you can pretty much take any of your recipes and use rabbit meat in it. There's some slight differences. The trick to getting really tender rabbit meat, because it is so low in sodium, so it doesn't hold on to that moisture, is a low and slow. And so people will say, well, you have to add all this oil to cook it in, and that's not true. Just a little bit of broth and just cooking it low and slow is the key. So one of the dumbest things that I hear is you can't eat rabbit meat as your main meat because you will starve to death. So the myth of what they call rabbit starvation is actually protein starvation. And that all came about during depressions and famines in other countries. And also when the early explorers came here, they were living pretty much solely on rabbit because they were easy to hunt and they were plentiful. So they were just focusing on eating rabbits, but they weren't eating anything else. So if all you did was eat rabbit meat, it is so low in calories, it is so low in fat that your body literally cannot function on it alone. So your brain is made up of fat. Your brain requires fat. Your body needs fat and calories to function. So if all you ate was the leanest protein, you're going to starve to death. That's common sense. So what about cucumbers? What about Swiss chard? You know, if like I just sat here all day and all I ate was Swiss chard, I can produce a lot of this, but it has no calories in it and no fat. It's extremely good for you. It has a lot of protein in it. But if this is all I ate, guess what, guys? I'd starve to death. So does that mean that you shouldn't eat Swiss chard or you shouldn't eat cucumbers? No. It means that you can't just eat cucumbers, you can't eat just Swiss chard, and you can't eat just rabbit meat. Diversify your diet. So just because you might starve if the only thing you ate was rabbit meat, doesn't mean eating rabbit meat is going to make you starve. If I had $1 for every time that I was told that I was going to starve by feeding my children rabbit meat or by feeding myself rabbit meat, I'd have like $20. So then the thing that is the hardest is probably the cute factor. We had a couple come out here and buy 2 does from us and 1 buck, and they were so excited about their breeding trio. They bred them, and then they wanted to come over and watch us process a batch that we had. So they had 2 different litters on the way. They came over, they watched us process a couple animals. They were really polite. They said, yeah, okay. And then we asked if they wanted to try it. Absolutely not. They didn't want to touch the rabbits. So then they later called us, I think it was the next day, and they said, can you take all of these rabbits back? We absolutely cannot do that. And so there was a cute factor there. They're fuzzy. They are, I mean, there's Peter Rabbit, Bugs Bunny, you know, especially when they did the remakes of these and they're talking and they wear the little coats. And so people have so humanized the rabbit that they don't want to raise it for meat. But really, it's no different than a baby piggy or a baby cow or even little fuzzy chicks. They're all cute. Animals are cute. That is part of raising meat, is you have to decide if you're going to eat meat, are you going to do what it takes to produce that meat? It's the healthiest meat. It is the most productive meat. And it is the easiest meat on the environment and the easiest meat that you can process yourself and put in the freezer and use in just about every recipe. I highly recommend you add it to your homestead or to your farm, or just if you want to become more self-sustaining or you're just worried about the antibiotics that are in meat, go ahead and give this a try. I'm going to walk you through every single step. We're going to start with setup, then we're going to go to breeding, caring for a pregnant doe, birth of the rabbits, caring for the kits, tractoring them, processing them. I'm going to walk you through all of it. So hit that subscribe button and hit that bell button, because these videos are going to be coming out this month and you don't want to miss one. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.